It's 800-951-0592. That number one more time is 800-951-0592. Just going really quickly, I've been checking gold all this morning, and gold is down a little bit, down to about $21. Silver down about 78 cents. I don't think for long, and so this creates a buying opportunity. So that number, again, make sure to keep your eyes trained on this if you're a gold and silver buyer, because opportunities can pop up. 800-951-0592. Looking at the markets started lower today, down 410. It's been going down as we're and then right in the middle. And I'm trying to look at the markets and give you guys the numbers, and my computer decides it's going to just shut off. Just the one that I'm using, Jack. The one that I'm using is. It's the one that just said, we're going to do some updates or whatever it's doing. Anyways, the market's down. Before things went down on me here, the Dow was down 415 points. The NASDAQ was down over 200 points. Seems like there's a lot of nervous Nellies today and a lot of selling off. And quite frankly, it could be if I were somebody that was in these markets and I was a day trader, or if I was working for one of these firms and I was seeing some of the biggest and the wealthiest out there selling off stocks to their own companies and getting out of the markets, I think opening up the day after Labor Day, I think I would want to sell off a little bit myself because we are headed very much so in a direction of a market correction, a major market correction. As we have this market correction which is coming, this is why Joe comes to you with the numbers. The Fed meetings, the CPI, the jobless claims, the job creation report. These numbers that you come to the show daily for. I've become, frankly, more aware of these numbers just for the simple fact of coming on to this show and doing the show with Joe the last few years, and listening to the show before I joined up some 6, almost 7 years ago. I don't know what the special is, or else I'd be running that special. And but I would say hold on, because I'm sure we got something good. Silver and gold look to be still a great buy as we move further into 2024 and then towards 2025. I'm going to try to get my computer up and running, because so in a situation like this, I usually just, I'll just click on this. I got 5 or 6 things I could talk about, but I can't get to it because my computer decided to stop. The one that puts me on the air is working. The one that gets me going and helps me with a situation like this is I'm booting it back up. So 800-951-0592. Welcome back. The Patriot Radio News Hour. The number to call, 800-951-0592. This show's been on the air for a great many years. Before I joined Patriot back in 2018, would listen to this show because I was figuring this stuff out and learning as I went. And it's an interesting thing because when I started listening to this show, I was a process server. I was the guy that I'd drive around. I knew what was going on, but I didn't fully understand it. And I used to drive around and I would give people their papers. I'd give them their, hey, you can't pay your credit card bill. Here, you're being sued. Hey, you're not paying your mortgage. Hey, here's some papers for you. Your house is going to be taken away. Hey, you're not paying your medical bills. Not paying your school loans. Yeah, here's some papers for you. And there was no end to the stacks of papers. There was more papers than I could ever serve. It was nonstop. And back in those days, I used to I was the one of the guys that moved out of the trailer court when I bought my first house. I had my son who was a baby at the time, and I had my wife, and we bought our first house. We were one of those people that were not supposed to get one of those those stated income loans, one of those loans you weren't supposed to have. And one day in 2010, I walked out the front of my house. Me, the pizza delivery driver. This is back when I was a pizza delivery driver. Back when I bought the house. And both homes on both sides of my property, the homes on both sides, left and right, were empty. All 3 homes across the street, empty. And I knew something serious was going on. And I knew that I must be doing something right, because as a pizza delivery driver, working off tips and doing my best to be crafty and learning about things, I knew that I was doing something right. And I kept learning and kept really trying hard to figure things out. And I'd listen to this show, Patriot Radio News Hour, right? But back in those days, there was these other gold and silver shows on the air. There was like 3 or 4 of them, I remember. And I would switch back and forth and listen to them. And the other shows had the fun music, and they had their own version of what they like to sell. And but as the months wore on, one by one, these other gold and silver shows just fell off the air. They were illegitimate. They couldn't hold their water. They couldn't continue doing what they were doing. They didn't have the program that the Patriot Radio News Hour is. They didn't have what's been going on here for, we're closing in on 3 decades. And the customer base, the longevity of the radio shows brings us a trust with our customers, a word of mouth that can't be beat, and a strong ability to get you into and get you out of your metals. One thing we don't talk about as much is we buy. We're not going to go on the show all the time and talk about how we buy, but we buy precious metals, gold and silver, and we do it every day. And we sell gold and silver every day, and we specialize in the pre-33 gold, collectible gold, non-confiscatable, at least the way that it's set up today. And I think a lot of people getting their coins graded, a lot of people getting their gold graded, it shows a potential ability to, if things get crazier and crazier in this country, you will be able to hold on to what you've got while others may lose what they got. So it was incredible. I was serving these papers, seeing what's going on, and learning day by day how this works. How are we going to get through to the next week, the next month, the next year? My wife and I were doing everything we could. We were very strongly opinionated that my wife was going to be a stay-at-home mom, which created extra financial burdens on my shoulders as I, like I said, as first pizza delivery driver and then a process server. And so it's interesting because I would meet people, and then when you start to get this knowledge, the stuff that's been on the air, and you guys out there that have been long-time listeners, you probably have the same conversations once you've garnered a certain level of information. But I'd have conversations to try to figure out things. And one thing I asked, I was when my son was a few years older, and he was in a Cub Scout troop, and I went and I was hanging out with the fathers as they were doing their activities. And this one guy was, his son was in the troop, and he was financially doing really, really well. And I asked him one question, because this was something that was in my mind, because I was always trying to pay off my debt, and it's important to pay off your debt. He was like, man, if I could just pay off the second mortgage, and then after that, can I pay off the first mortgage? Stack it up and get rid of the debt. We've heard some guys on the internet that have these ideas, right? Well, I asked this guy a question. It's like, look, would it be better to have 0 savings and 0 debt, or would it be better to have $100,000 in debt and $100,000 in savings? And the guy, without hesitation, said, you got to have the debt and the savings. He says, it doesn't matter if you have no debt and no savings. It doesn't matter about the no debt. Something happens, and you're going to be blown up into debt really quick, and you'll have nothing to back it up with. You have to have the savings. You have to have the savings. And so I wasn't afraid of debt quite as much, and I started thinking more about savings, and that is precisely what the Patriot Trading Group does. Gold and silver is savings. It is protected savings. It is a savings that keeps you whole. It's what we do for you. If you're trying to figure out, a lot of people that don't buy gold and silver trying to figure out, well, what do I do with this money? And I have money in the bank account, and I'm worried that the banks are maybe not the safe place. Are they going to lock me out of my money? And all these things, the inflation and taking down the value of the dollar, and I can't buy as much stuff from 2020 to today. You're lucky to buy 60. If you had $100,000 in your savings account in 2020, here we are 4 years later, you'd scarcely be able to buy 60 and storing it in a warehouse because you could probably sell for twice as much today. But gold and silver is that savings I was talking about that you should have and have ready at any time that you have. And Joe, I don't know if you're back yet. Joe, are you back? Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm dialing in. I don't know what's going on with the board, but I was like, wait a minute, we've got another way to do this. So I'm coming at you in a different direction, and then we'll try to. We had a great show lined up for you today. I'm gonna.
Yes.
I mean, probably the most important show maybe of the year. Here's what we're going to do. Tomorrow will be must listen to. Tell everybody you know. This is what you're going to want to pay attention to. What has been going on in the system. A lot of people talking about, hey, the central banks are actually buying up the debt and just trying not to tell anybody. Why is Warren Buffett been selling Bank of America? Yeah. If you, let's just say this. Anybody that's got money in the bank, you're going to want to listen to tomorrow's show. Maybe Bank of America people may be a little more important than others, but we've been saying this for a long time. Be your own central bank. Gold purchases for the central bank July. Oh yeah, they were up again. Matter of fact, they doubled in the month of July. The central banks continuing to pile in. You got to remember that when they're doing that, they're actually voting against their own system. They're voting against their own system. And Jason's been talking a lot about lords and peasants. Well, tomorrow, I think they're going to want to tune in tomorrow. We're going to lay it out. What's going to happen? This guy will talk to you about where he thinks gold, silver, the Dow, all of those things. Of course, we already knew this, too. All the small banks, they're going away. But Jason, he has a fall guy. He said, listen, Lehman Brothers, Bear Stearns, they were the fall guys the last time. There'll be another fall guy this time around, and he's going to be naming names. I'll just leave it at that. He's going to be naming names. We're going to do it today, but, I'm not very technically inclined. I don't know what happened. I have no idea.
I watched a documentary on the 2008 housing crash, and it was dealing specifically with Bank of America and Merrill Lynch. And I don't know if this is a part of what you're going to be playing tomorrow, Joe, but these two institutions really did some dirty deeds. I mean, it was really, really bad. And so I wouldn't be surprised if if this is a long, overdrawn problem that's coming to a head, and if these two were to go under, I wouldn't be surprised. These are some real. I mean, all these big banks are all just corrupt. But Merrill Lynch and Bank of America, the deal that they pulled, which kind of sunk Lehman Brothers and caused a lot more pain and problems. It was nasty, Joe. It's not, and they didn't fix it. How many times have you said it over the year, Joe? It's not been fixed. What we're dealing with today is just more of the same, kicking the can down the road, Joe. Well,
let me just say this. Tomorrow will be must see, must hear, must listen to Patriot Trading Group. We'll just leave it at that. But in a preference to that, we told you a few weeks ago about USAA. And, they're a bank now, right? And how they got hacked, and how people had all of a sudden all their money was gone. And people that live in Texas, yet somebody in a different state took all their money out, and they're like, hey, obviously, that didn't happen, right? Where I live, you can see where I got gas that day, my wife bought groceries that day. We were in Texas, and not giving people access to their money. Well, guess what? This is becoming a major, major issue as U.S. banks are accused of routinely misleading its customers, attempting to profit billions of dollars. J.P. Morgan Chase is now facing a class action lawsuit. Now, this is going to be interesting because a lot of these get thrown out because you're not allowed, when you click OK and initial here and sign there, to do these class action lawsuits. But from taking your cash into accounts with extremely low interest rates without actually disclosing to you that that's what they're doing. In other words, all of you out there that sit there and have way too much money in your bank account, guess what your bank's doing? We're just moving it to a different account without telling you. And magically, that account just doesn't happen to pay you any interest, right? That they don't even want to give you the measly 3 or 4%, Jason. They don't want to do it. And they come up with a way to do it. And by the way, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, Citi, and others accused of using cash sweep programs that move idle investment money into accounts with near zero interest rates, right? So this is something where maybe you've got you do investing through your bank. Well, all that money's not in use all the time, but they're supposed to pay you interest on it. Yeah, we don't want to. We don't feel like it. Yeah, aren't the banks wonderful? They're just such great people. Patriot Radio News Hour. We'll be back. Patriot Radio News Hour. Joe and Jason on this Tuesday. You know what, first? It was a long weekend. I hope everyone had a great weekend. We're talking about banks. And you better watch out. You better watch out. We've been warning you and warning you and warning you. Tune in tomorrow, and we'll give you and it's not me saying it. Right? I get it, because sometimes, Joe's just trying to scare. No. I wish, but that's not what I do. It's not what we do. It's not what we're about. We don't need to scare you to do anything. Look at what Colt's already done. But now the Securities and Exchange Commission, how many more times do we got to catch these banks doing stuff they shouldn't be doing? This is just easy, right? They have customers that trust them, and it's this blind trust that is going to be the downfall of it all. Wells Fargo, Charles Schwab, Morgan Stanley, Bank of America, Ameriprise, LPL Financial, UBS, Merrill Lynch. Did we miss anybody? All of them are declining to comment on the matters. But let's just say very simply, the banks go out of their way to make sure they give you as little as possible. And of course, they're going to defend it and say, well, you know what? They clicked here and initialed here and said okay there and signed here, and we were illegally allowed to screw them over. And this is just the investment side of it. So my guess is maybe they can class action lawsuit because it's on the investment side and not necessarily your savings account or what have you. But they were taking all of that excess. Let's just say, I don't know, one day he said, hey, you know what? Let's just sell it all. Let's go to the sidelines for a few days. I'm gonna wait for this thing to shake out. And you got, I don't know, $1 million in there. Yeah. Right? Well, hey, you're supposed to be getting, 3, 4, 5% interest rate on that money that you're not using. Now, guess what the banks is? And here's the funny thing. You don't think they all work together? But all of these geniuses, all by themselves, without interacting with each other, all figured out the same thing. Hey, guys, let's get one of our techies, probably one that's on a work visa from India, and let's have them write a program where we just sweep those cash accounts and take all the money out of it, run the interest rate program, and then we'll put the money back in it, later. In the meantime, what we'll do is when we take that money out from them, we'll put it in our account. We'll get the interest on it, then we'll put the money back. That's what they were doing. I mean, that's rudimentary, dumbing it down so you can understand what these criminals do. I mean, that's ridiculous. And like I said, look at all the companies that did. They all did. You right, Jason? Oh, no, well, we figured this out on the coast. No, they know. The funny part was, finally, there was enough guys that said, hey, wait a minute. I should have more money. What are you guys doing, right? And they had to sue to try to find out exactly what these banks were doing with these sweep accounts again. And, Jason, nothing has changed. Matter of fact, the Dodd-Frank rules, you know the ones they've gotten rid of? They've gotten rid of the rules that used to, at least keep a pretend foot on the banks. Most of those rules have been written off. We don't need those anymore. Get rid of them. And then you know what rules they've strengthened? Hey, you know what? Oh, wait a minute. We just thought of something else. We better look at these money market. Everyone's putting their money in money market accounts. Oh, my God. Let's change those rules. Make sure that we screw these guys over. Yeah. And, Jason, that's exactly what's happening. It really, I'm not surprised by this at all. It's almost laughable that all of these companies were all doing the same thing. And here's the funny part. Now that this is out there a little bit, you watch. Every single bank, everybody's going to come out and say, hey, wait a minute, they were doing it to me too.
And when things start to fall apart, they'll pick a few guys in their system, right, Joey? Because you said they all work together. They'll pick a few guys to pin it on, right? But those names get the headlines, right? Like the Fauci. You watch, Fauci's going to be involved in politics for a long, long time. You watch. So remember Hank Paulson? He was one of the guys. Remember Hank Paulson? Remember that name? Remember how often that got thrown around, Joe? That guy he was one of those guys that was dealing to dirty deeds, right? He was the treasurer, right? Well, then what happened to him, right? Oh, no, he was still involved in April 2016. This is years after the housing crash, because this is one of the guys that was part of the housing crash. He was a part of 8 former Treasury secretaries that was trying to stop Brexit in 2016. He said, in quotes, the GOP is putting Trump at the top of the ticket and is endorsing a brand of populism rooted in ignorance, prejudice, fear, and isolationism. He didn't really care about Trump. What he's caring about was this is against our system. The guy that was partially or more than partially responsible for what was happening in the housing crash. Paulson was a leader of the Climate Leadership Council, a proposal for the United States in 2017 as a climate change mitigation policy. These guys never go away. Now, I don't know what who was the Fed chief back then. I always forget his Bernanke. I don't know. I haven't looked up what he's up to. I'm sure he's out there spinning his webs, right, Joe? They never go away. Once you're in it, once you're in the club, you don't get kicked out unless you do something really, really bad. JFK style, right, Joe?
Yeah, absolutely. And 800-951-0592 when we get back. We'll do a big gold special for you. And then, remember all those IRS agents they were been hiring? Remember they said, oh, no, we're only going to go after the rich people? I'll give you an update on how that's going. Stay with us. We're back here, the Patriot Radio News Hour, Joe and Jason. Right now, gold's down 15, 24.85. Silver's off 58 cents, just below $28. The Dow is down 450 points. The S&P's down 82. The Nasdaq's down over 400 points as well. And Jason, it's something where I think we're going to get JOLTS data this week. We're going to get jobs. We're going to get a lot of data coming for the Fed rate cut. I'll just tell you this right now. Take advantage of any and every single pullback you can. Right now, $20 gold pieces, 26.25, 26.25. If you want to buy 2 10s today, 26.25 at 800-951-0592. And again, we are right near, spot prices are $140 over spot. It's just nothing, especially when you're talking about, it'd be one thing if gold was $500. No, it's $2,500. So a great opportunity. Get it out of the bank before the bank does it for you. And believe me, the last thing you want is for the bank to take care of your money for you. How many more examples do you need to see? You know what? Humor yourself. Humor yourself. Go to the Better Business Bureau, put your bank's name in there, and see how many complaints they have. They will be in the thousands, by the way, just in case you're curious. Now, I know some of you don't like to hear that. You don't like to believe that. You want to believe that the system, this debt money system, was created for you. It's not true. Look at right now. We're making billionaires and millionaires, right? They say, oh, yeah, we're making billionaires and millionaires. Like everybody's a billionaire and a millionaire. No. Couple people. Hey, guess what? You 500 people, you get to win. Right? We got 350 million people in the country. What about the other 349 million? 500,000 of them, right? This is an absolute joke. Why didn't Janet Yellen in the Inflation Reduction Act? Yeah, what a great name. Hey, I got an idea, guys. Let's go further into debt. Print up money out of thin air, and let's call it inflation reduction. Right? That'll really knock their socks off. $80 billion over 10 years to hire huge amounts of IRS agents. And like I just told you, there's not that many millionaires and billionaires in the country to audit. The IRS has made no progress in complying with the Treasury Department's directive that asked the agency not to target people earning less than $400,000 a year with higher audit rates, according to the Treasury Inspector General, saying that they found that the IRS has made only, I guess I said no progress, but they're calling it limited progress to even come up with, listen to this, limited progress in doing it? No. Limited progress in even coming up with a methodology to comply with the directive. So think about this. Not only have they not done it, right? They haven't done it. They haven't even come up with a methodology to try to come up and do it, Jason. They don't even have that. So you think about this was done in 2022. We're almost through we're in month 9 of 2024, and they're saying that there isn't even a methodology to come up with any type of planning and or implementation. And again, this was never the goal. They knew this was going to happen, right? If they were going to actually do this, first of all, they didn't need $80 billion. There's not that many people in the country actually making more than $400,000 a year. And the bottom line is, Jason, they're here because when the system comes crashing down, they're going to make sure you and I are on the hook.
Yeah, Warren Buffett's not holding record amounts of cash because things are going to be good. If things are going to be good, he'd have it invested. He's waiting for all this to crash and burn, and he's going to pick up assets, pennies on the dollar, and move on when things rebalance. And they will rebalance. It's not like the economic world's coming to a complete halt and we're going back to the Stone Age. It's not happening. That's not happening. But, I mean, Joe, I was looking. In 2001, gold opened at $272. It closed the year at $276. Yeah, if you would, some people are like, well, I don't know if I want to buy gold. Where am I going to keep it? I don't. There are so many places you can keep a gold coin that nobody's going to look. And I'll say this: where are you going to keep your cash if you're not buying the gold? A Big Mac was $2.15 in 2001. Now it's $5.75, and it's not the same food. Shrinkflation has turned that sandwich into some kind of creature that it wasn't in 2001, right, Joe? And you're worried about holding an ounce of gold privately somewhere. You can put one in your wallet. No one will even know it's there, Joe. Now it's $2,500.
Yeah, 800-951-0592. Jason and I, we're coming right back. Final segment here, Patriot Radio News Hour, Joe and Jason. $20 gold pieces, $25 to $10 gold pieces. 26, 25 at 800-951-0592. And remember, tomorrow we'll have a big segment going, what is going on in the Treasury markets? What is going on at the banks? And why has Warren Buffett been dumping Bank of America, and who is going to be the fall guy? That's going to be coming on tomorrow's show. By the way, this IRS thing, the IRS, according to the Treasury Inspector General, does not view this as an urgent matter, and says that they've got plenty of time to develop the methodology. The IRS says that we're not worried about working with the Treasury Department at this time, and we're finalizing still what the audited coverage rates will need to be. So Jason, again, another fairy tale that these people tell us, dream up of, and repeat it on the air enough, and then when it actually comes time for them to actually do it, they're like, "Oh, we're not doing that. Yeah, we're not. Come on, no." Times are different. I'm not sure they'll come up with some great reason as to why. Oh well, really, it probably should be, maybe 200,000 or maybe 100,000. They'll come up with some reason why they can't do the 400.
Yeah, it's interesting on a down day like this, Joe. Gold down less than 0.5%. They just look up there, and the Nasdaq's down less than 2.5%. The S&P's down, about 1.5%. It's interesting on these down days, and this has been going on through 2023 and this year, Joe. Where there's a big down day, gold is always down a little less, isn't it? It's always down less. I was looking at other commodities. I was looking at gold. Gold's up, 10x from 2001. I was looking at oats. Oats is 3x. And I'm thinking, in 2022 when the inflation was hitting, oats got up to almost 8x, right, when the inflation was really running. And then it's cooled off, the so-called cool off. But oats has been between $3 a pound to $4.50 a pound this year. It was $1.10 back in 2001. Gold is showing what actually is the price of things and the manipulation of goods and services, Joe. That's what this big crash is it's going to resettle these things. And how much are things going to cost when oats has to catch up to gold? When these other assets like silver suddenly have to catch up? Because they aren't. Things are being kind of pushed down artificially. You can't keep it down forever, Joe. It's a ball. It's a beach ball underwater, right?
That's it. It's ready to explode here. Yeah, gold's down $12, 24.88 now. So $20 gold pieces, $26.25. Two $10 gold pieces, $26.25 at 800-951. 0592. Yeah, kind of just a little reality slap as all the banks once again, all seemingly, we didn't orchestrate this together. No. It just kind of worked out that way that we ripped everybody off. Patriot Radio News Hour. We'll be back tomorrow. Don't miss it.